Hey guys, so I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. So, when I heard that they were releasing a Christmas movie, there was a vampire movie by Robert Eggers starring Bill Skarsgård. I was excited for so many reasons. Firstly, I thought with Robert Eggers, we could finally be getting a return to form for making vampires actually scary again, not just sparkly teenage love interests. Not saying that they're all like that, like we have had a bit of a resurgence with vampire movies and even those classic Universal type monster movies. We've got The Invisible Man came out not too long ago, the Mummy reboot, then we have the Wolfman coming out in 2 weeks. So even though this isn't technically a Dracula movie, you know what I mean, it's still in that same category. So I thought, yes, this is a return to form, making vampires scary. And I will say this is very unsettling, but I wouldn't say it's ever truly scary, which is one thing I was a little disappointed in. But don't get me wrong, it is very unsettling. And I was also so happy to have Robert Eggers as the director, because ever since I saw The Northman, I've really been a fan of him. He just brings that attention to detail in every single movie he does. And this is no exception. You really feel immersed in this movie, like you're truly living in the Victorian era times. And in those times, it was really popular around Christmas to talk about ghost stories or scary stories. So it just felt very fitting to release this around Christmas. I love gothic horror. Some of my favorites are Crimson Peak and The Woman in Black and The Haunting of Hill House. I just love that type of horror. So when I heard that Eggers was going in that direction, I was really excited to see what he'd do with it. And he definitely didn't disappoint. And Bill Skarsgård, I've been a really big fan of him. I've followed his career basically from the start. I remember he got his start, well, it wasn't the first thing he was ever in, but the first thing he was really recognized for was a Netflix TV show. I don't think you can even find it anywhere anymore, but it was called Hemlock Grove, where he played one of those sort of Edward Cullen type teenage vampires. Anyway, he's gone so far since then. I loved him in like The Barbarian. He's been in so many incredible movies. So I think he's a really talented actor who can get really immersed in those roles and really has an intensity about him that he brings to those villainous roles really well. So when I heard he was in this, it was like, okay, Eggers, gothic horror, Bill Skarsgård, actually scary vampires. This is just, checklist complete. So this was beautiful, eerie, atmospheric, moody, bleak visually, but also so stunning. Just visually, I was so impressed with how it looked, especially with the camera work. And that's not something I usually focus on. I can't say that I'm really experienced in camera work, but I just noticed in this movie, it was just so well done. So unfortunately, I do have to say, Bill was the biggest letdown of this movie for me, and I was really surprised by that. Don't get me wrong, he did an amazing job acting, and he's a very good actor. It was more not his fault, but what they wanted from him in this. Just the way he looked. There was so much suspense and mystery surrounding the way that Count Orlok would actually look. And when we finally see it, he looks a bit like a creepy zombie guy. And obviously a vampire is going to resemble a human because that's what it is. It's a reanimated walking corpse. But still, with what we saw with the teasers, when we finally saw him in full glory, it just didn't feel that impressive. Though I was definitely impressed by how much Bill lost himself in this role. He was so immersed in it. Like, move over Colin Farrell in The Penguin. His transformation has nothing on this. There is no Bill Skarsgård at all in this performance, and it almost feels like he went a little bit too far into that role. So yeah, he was just underwhelming, and I just felt disappointed because he had the chance to really make himself a truly terrifying vampire. And he was a bit hard to understand at times, and he was revealed too early. I wish we had the final reveal at the end, because what you can imagine in your head is so much more terrifying. But it was revealed quite early what he looked like. So the score definitely added a lot of mood and tension and invoked that feeling of dread. Just the way this movie looked and sounded, especially in the big cinema, was incredible. Aaron Taylor Johnson didn't feel like he fit in this movie. Don't get me wrong, he's a good actor. I wouldn't say he's as strong of an actor as Bill Skarsgård, but he's definitely adequate. I've seen him in other movies like Kick-Ass, Godzilla, Kraven the Hunter, which wasn't a good movie, but he was still a good actor in a bad movie. I mean, he's good, but he just didn't feel like he fit in this particular movie. The story just didn't really have me as emotionally invested as I would have liked. That was the part that really let me down. There was just a lack of heart. So Willem Dafoe as the professor added some much needed humour to a movie that was otherwise so bleak. Like, this is obviously not meant to be a funny movie, but it felt like he needed that emotional release of a bit of a laugh now and then. I didn't expect him to be funny in this movie, but yeah, he really was in that way that seemed like it was unintentional, but it obviously was intentional. So Nicholas Hoult plays the husband of Lily Rose Depp's character. So he was in another Dracula type movie recently, Renfield. He's a good actor. You feel so sorry for his character in this movie because he's unwillingly caught in this love triangle between his wife and this monster. And yeah, I just felt sorry for the guy through the whole movie. I would say this movie deserves to be nominated at the Oscars, but we all know the Oscars unfortunately do tend to snub horror movies. The movie is just such a mixed bag for me. There's so many things that I really enjoyed, but then things that I wasn't 100% with. But I will say the standout of this movie, the biggest surprise by far, was Lily. Lily Rose Depp. I've never been impressed by her as an actress, and when I heard that Anya was originally meant to be in this role, Anya Taylor-Joy, who was so great in The Northman and Last Night in Soho and so many other of these types of creepy movies, I just thought she would be so perfect, especially in that, that period type piece. So I had my dream cast with her and Bill, and then they replaced her with Lily, and I was really disappointed. But Lily knocked it out of the park. She gave a surprisingly emotional performance. Some of her scenes were a bit repetitive, like her being sick in bed, but still her performance was amazing. So don't get me wrong, overall I definitely had a good time with this movie. I would say go see it on the big screen. I definitely enjoyed it. But I'm just going to be honest, there were some things that didn't work with me. It just felt like the acting was hit and miss. It was a little bit soulless. There was unnecessary nudity. The end scene was a bit vulgar in my opinion. But look, all around, I'm still going to be fair and say this was an incredible movie. I would give it an 8 out of 10. So let me know what you think of it if you've seen it. Let me know your comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill, all that YouTube stuff. I'll see you in the next video.